आज दोस्तों we're gonna fly over Manhattan, New York, but उससे पहले I am taking my bus straight to New Jersey. So today is my first time taking a bus to New Jersey, so the experience is gonna be unique. Terminal is 321. So here it is. Pretty good seats actually. We are now entering Hangar of Amit. अभी थोड़ी देर में introduce करते हैं. I'm so excited. यकीन नहीं कर सकता मैं. Okay, here we go.
Come on in. So this is Juliet.
Oh, Juliet is plane का नाम.
Yeah. So the call sign. Every plane has a registration, just like your cars have license plates. So this is November 6987 Juliet.
Oh.
तो प्यार से मैं इसे Juliet बुलाता हूँ.
क्या बात है?
Yeah. So this is a Piper Warrior. It's a Piper Cherokee Warrior. And it is a 1976 model. So it's
so old?
Yes, much older than you and I. But typically with these airplanes, the maintenance schedule is very rigorous. So every year we have to get inspections, and based on the age of the components, we replace the components. So we keep things pretty up to date inside.
So डर की बात नहीं है.
डर की बात नहीं. It's a very safe plane. It has it's a low wing aircraft. It carries fuel in both the wings on either side. Carries about 4 passengers, and it's sort of the workhorse of the general aviation community. It's a very popular training aircraft, so a lot of people love to use this. A lot of training schools love to use this aircraft to train on because it's easy to fly, it's very economical, and it's very robust. It is the equivalent of your Toyota Camry of cars.
Brilliant.
So reliable.
Brilliant.
So I've had this 8 years about. I've been flying this about 8 years now.
Wow.
And it's never let me down. I've flown across the country, down to Florida, Midwest to Chicago, and all the way up to the Canadian border.
Wow.
So I've flown this quite a bit, lots of miles on this.
क्या बात है? Now step 1 is going to be pre-flight. एक test round करेंगे and I'm gonna join. मैं बैग भी ला सकता हूँ कि छोड़ दूँ मैं?
नहीं, बैग ला सकते हैं बिल्कुल.
ला सकते हैं. चलो. मेरी MacBook भी और मेरा backpack भी उड़ेगा Manhattan के ऊपर. So how do I enter?
So we're gonna enter on this side, but before we enter, we're gonna do an external walk around. And then pull the plane out. So let's. The way we pre-flight the aircraft, there's a pattern. We follow a systemic process to go around the aircraft in one direction, and we'll inspect all the components, and we'll make sure that there's nothing loose or nothing dangerous, or we'll deem our flight unsafe. So we'll start with. I like to start on the right corner here. We like to look at the flaps. The hinges are in place and the nuts are in place. These are the ailerons. These help us roll the airplane, turn the airplane. Right. So we make sure there's full function, full range of motion here, and there's nothing loose. You see lots of rivets and lots of nuts here, and we make sure that there's nothing. Lots of these screws. We make sure nothing is loose. Right. We make sure the lights are intact. These are nav lights. You'll notice that there's a red light on the left wing and a green light on the right wing, and it indicates direction of flight. So make sure there's nothing damaged. We'll make sure there's no damage on the front of the plane. These are fuel tanks. We carry fuel in the wings, so there is ample fuel in this wing, as you can see inside this. Right. And we'll walk around. We'll continue. This is the business end of the aircraft. This is the engine. It's not so much different than your car's engine. It's a 4-cylinder engine, and generates about 160 horsepower in this case. This engine.
तो Ferrari से कम है horsepower.
Ferrari से कम है horsepower, of course, but
Tesla से भी कम है.
Tesla से कम है, but काम चल जाता है इसमें. In the air.
तो हाँ मतलब 0 to 60 Tesla का ज़्यादा है इससे.
Yeah, of course.
And by the way, like आपका introduction तो रहेगी आप like can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely.
So meet Amit, everyone.
Yes, my name is Amit. I'm a private pilot based here in New Jersey. I fly out of this beautiful airport called Old Bridge Airport in New Jersey. I've been here for about 19 years, and I've always had a dream to fly. And about 10 years ago, I went out and went to flying school and got my flying license. And I've been flying for the last 10 years, and I've been flying this aircraft for the last 8 years or so.
Brilliant.
And especially around the Northeast, but some trips to the South and other Midwest locations as well.
That is brilliant. And there's no age requirement to get a license for pilot, right?
Yeah, that's
like
correct.
for car, there's a license limit age of 16. But in the US, even if you are like just a baby, you can technically learn to fly and just get the license.
Yeah, so we have people as young as 12 that train here at Old Bridge Flight School and other flight schools around.
They can fly alone.
They cannot fly alone at 12. Your minimum requirement, I believe, is 16.
16.
You can in fact get a flying license before you get a driver's license.
Wow.
Yep, that's the. Yep.
This is still mind blowing.
Inspect the propeller. This is very important, right? You want to make sure there's no cracks or any damage on the propeller, right? Because this is what gives us the thrust. Make sure the alternator belt is intact. And we'll continue walking around the airplane.
And do you get nervous sometimes?
You want to be careful. Nervous, perhaps, is not the right word, but you want to be very careful. And if you see something out of place, you would rather err on the side of caution and stay on the ground. The कहावत होती है हमारे flying community में कि you would rather be on the ground looking at the air than be in the air looking at the ground. So you always want to be safe. So we make sure that everything is where it should be because you can't pull over in the air.
आपका full-time profession क्या है? Like,
so I work for a hospital. I work for a hospital in Manhattan called NYU.
oh, nice.
And so I manage a lot of their data warehousing applications, the data warehouse platforms for them.
So you did like engineering?
I did my engineering
In the US.
In the US, and then I did started working in computer science, and that's what I do now.
And how did you get into like flying then?
So my father is an ex-Air Force pilot.
Wow.
And, so I've grown up around airplanes all my life and watched him fly all my life. And he inspired me. And I've always wanted to fly. So when I moved to the US, I went to school and started flying.
Very nice. Now, most important, fuel.
Yep, fuel is very important. So we have a drain down here, and we pull the fuel out. And we look for the color. So this is aviation-specific fuel. It's typically 110 octane. And we smell to make sure it's fuel.
Not water.
Not water. And then we look at this, right? So if there was water in it, water would be more dense and sink to the bottom. So we don't see any water in this. So this is clean. We don't see any impurities or any other particles in this. So the fuel is good. And there are typically 3 points in this packet. The right wing, the left wing, and the engine pump. So we have as you will see, the wings are below the engine. So again, the fuel has to go against gravity. So we have a fuel pump that is behind this, and the fuel pump pumps the engine up into the engine. Pumps the fuel up into the engine.
Very nice. So fuel यहाँ पे भी है.
Yep. So this is exactly what the fuel pump is.
And on the bottom there should be no water because water's density is more, so it can sit on the bottom.
Yep. So you can see that it's pretty clear.
Yes, clear.
And it smells like fuel. That's why pilots always high.
Can I smell too? Yeah.
They all smell well.
इसको घुमाना पड़ता है.
Just so I can get the tow hook in place. Okay, so that wing is going to come towards you, so you may want to step back.
Oh.
So we're going to pull the plane out now.
Oh my gosh. Whoa. Oh. Okay. उड़ान के लिए रेडी. आप पानी साथ में रखते हो उड़ने से पहले?
Usually रखता हूँ मैं, yeah. Usually when I go on longer flights, I carry some granola bars, I carry some water with me because it is pretty exhausting. You're doing a lot of work in there and you're very focused. So when you land, sometimes you need a little bite to eat, a little sugar and a little water.
True.
So I do usually. But today we're going to do a round trip flight. We're not going to land anywhere. We'll come back and land here after Manhattan. So the way you board this aircraft is there's a handle. You grab that. There's a step right there. Step on that. And then you step on the main wing. Okay. It's as simple as that. You open the door. Now bag in. So now you'll grab both sides and you put a foot in. Right? And you'll slide into your seat.
Got it.
And that's how you end.
Pretty easy.
See you inside soon.
See you. wow, I have a handle too?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a dual flight control. So
I'll be
you'll
scared.
taking control. You can take control for a little while and fly for a little while.
I will not touch it.
Okay, I'll be with you. We'll do some flying together.
Okay. So headphones here and everything in. Can I close the door or keep it open?
Sorry, garmi hai, so let's leave it open for a little while. And when we start the engines up, I'll ask you to close the door before we start up. Okay. So we are in the cockpit. And as you can see, this is a basic cockpit that you'll see in most aircraft. You'll see what's called a six-pack. Right. So you have your altimeter, you have your vertical speed climb indicator, you have your compass. This is a gyroscopic compass. You have a turn coordinator, you have airspeed indicator, and a horizon. Right. So this shows you the blue sky and blackest ground. So it's a standard six-pack. These are your VOR instruments they use for navigation. These are also instruments that many of the airlines and many other commercial aircraft also use in order to navigate. These are your radios. We have redundant radios, so we have primary radios and secondary radios. This is the transponder. So we talked about this. This is what sends your signal out. So sometimes you're given a specific code that you put in here, so they can tag you and they know who you are. This is a GPS unit, sort of like your car. So we can map things, we can map destinations, we can map routes and fly. This is a DME, it's a distance measuring equipment which shows distance. And then there's some other instruments like the gyro. So we have a spinning gyro here, a vacuum pump that creates suction and powers some of these instruments. So we like to obviously manage that instrument and make sure there's nothing wrong with it and maintain a certain pressure here. And then you have some other switches for lights and fuel pumps and heat and fuses here for various electrical systems, RPM and exhaust temperature, and most importantly clock. So your wife doesn't get mad at you when you're late.
Most important.
Yes. These are yokes. These control your various flight controls. Right. So this is your forward and aft control, which controls, if you look in the rear, your stabilator, horizontal stabilator, because helps you go take off and land. When you roll, you'll see my ailerons turning. These help you roll.
Oh yeah, the ailerons. Yes.
And then the last instruments are on your feet. These are your rudder pedals.
I will not touch them.
Right. And on the bottom are the brakes.
Oh, bottom where? Yeah. I don't have brakes, right?
Yeah, you have brakes right there. Those are your brakes right there.
So these are brakes, and
those
these are what are those?
Those are rudder pedals. So they help you yaw. So like you turn in a car. In an aircraft, you use your feet to turn.
Feet to turn. Okay.
Right. So your feet. So in order to make a turn, you coordinate all of these together to make a successful turn. Right. A
Brilliant.
smooth turn.
And it's not autopilot.
This aircraft does not have an autopilot. Some aircraft do have autopilot, so they are able to maintain altitude or maintain navigation, guidance from your GPS.
So this is all manual. Okay.
This is a manual. It's an old school airplane. We enjoy flying. No full self-drive.
Awesome.
Okay, sounds good. So now we're gonna plug in the headsets.
Okay. So headset.
Yep. Get your headset out. You'll see two plugs in there. One is a microphone. The other is a headphone cable. And you have to दोनों अलग size के होते हैं, so they'll only go into one.
So we can talk to each other.
Yes, so we can talk to each other.
Is it too? I mean, in the commercial plane, it's not too noisy. So you think it's going to be really noisy in this one?
Noisier than a commercial aircraft. They are, they have a lot of insulation and they have a lot more. They're built, to host, take passengers regularly. So this, it's not that you cannot talk if you don't have these. We can still talk.
We'll have to scream.
We'll have to talk louder. And these also help us talk to control and listen to other aircraft and listen to weather and other things. So we like to keep these on.
Awesome.
Like I said, there's very little room for error. So every pilot in every aircraft, including your airline, including a fighter pilot, they typically follow a checklist of items. So every aircraft has a system checklist, and this is mine for this aircraft. It's a Piper Warrior, like I said. So there's a checklist for a pre-flight, external checks, engine start, taxiing, before takeoff checklist, and then other parameters, other criteria we look at. What sometimes we do a normal takeoff like we'll do today, but sometimes you have shorter fields or soft fields in a grass, so you'll follow certain other techniques for those takeoffs. So when you train for your pilot's license, you're taught and evaluated on these techniques before you get your license. So you'll see that all of this will be in the checklist, including seat belt, right?
Okay.
So typically kya hota hai, we start with something called a weight and balance. So we want to make sure we can't carry unlimited weight. This aircraft is certified and rigged for a certain amount of weight. So this aircraft, my aircraft, can carry about 1,000 pounds of payload, which includes people like you and me, and fuel and baggage, of course.
Oh, so you have to make sure. So only 3 passengers can basically
Typically, if I have full fuel, 3 passengers is the limit. If you carry less fuel and you're going for a short distance, you can get 4 passengers in there, but you have to maintain that the limit in terms of weight and the loading, center of gravity. आपने पढ़ी थी physics में, तो वो सब a lot of these concepts you have to relearn. So now you realize कि where those concepts are applied. So you have to calculate the center of gravity. You have to calculate a lot of physics, right, to make sure that the plane is within the operating envelope.
Absolutely.
Right? We're going to warn people that we're going to start the engine. Clear prop!
What did you say?
Clear prop.
Clear top.
We've leaned the mixture a little bit. So आपको याद होगा इंडिया में the पुरानी गाड़ियाँ में you have to maintain the carburetor manually. Airplanes में ऐसा ही है because of the altitude. So at different densities, air thins out as you climb. So you want to lean the amount of fuel you're feeding the engine. Right? You don't need as much fuel because you have less air.
Absolutely.
So we control that manually using this air fuel mixture. We have turned on the anti-collision light. So we have a beacon flashing now, warning people around us that the engine is on, don't come close.
So no one will come. How will that guy know that we are here?
So right now, I mean, obviously, if you see the plane, he'll see the flashing light. It's a bright strobe that flashes, and it'll get his attention. If there's an airplane that's active, and it may move towards you.
That is true.
Yes, these are taxiways.
Central Park. Just straight the helicopter. Seven more minutes. And is aviation gasoline expensive than normal one?
It is more expensive. Yes, it is. It's about $6 a gallon.
$6 a gallon. Okay. Oh, so इससे grounding की cable की अभी grounding के बाद we will fuel up. Such a beautiful view. Incredible flight today. मजा आ गया.
Typically, I don't fill the tanks full. I keep it at 3/4
So
in case I have to take an extra passenger or something, right? So
oh, that's
I
why.
can always fill the tank, but I can't drain the tank.
Oh,
So I'm
that is true. ये drain करने में बहुत time लगा. अब नीचे से आपको pipe लगानी पड़ती है ना. हाँ.